Map up, let me know when you're ready. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the August 4th Town of Port Royal. We have a public hearing tonight, so I will call this to order. The purpose of the public hearing is ordinance 20-21-27, an ordinance to rezone approximately 3.24 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County, described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, Map 9, Parcel 36 and 204 in Beaufort County, South Carolina, rezoning from T4 Urban Center to T4 Neighborhood Center Open. This property is located on what I would call Ladies Island Extension, behind Hardee's is the easiest way to describe it. Some people call it Waddell Road, some people call it Ladies Island Extension. So it's located back there, and there's a map on the wall. Any public comment? Seeing none in the audience, anything online, anything submitted? I'll give it another. Then hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Next, we'll open up our August council workshop. I'll go ahead and call that to order.
Do you want to?
Van, can we change the agenda a little bit for you?
That's what I was going to
suggest. To give Councilman Ashmore a little more time, Kerry a little bit more time?
Since it is a workshop, we can do that.
We can change that around.
Sure.
So you want to start with your council briefing? Or do we want?
Yeah, that's fine.
Let's go ahead and start with the council briefing.
Yeah, obviously, the first thing is some project updates. Royal Palms Gravity Sewer, full orders is completed. The letter for environmental review and submitted to Jessica Daly, who's with LOCOG, to get the environmental clearance. That has been submitted as of July 16th. Still anticipating construction to be completed in June of 2022. We may require an extension, but we'll move forward meeting current time frame. Forward is verified and is the process completing the 30%, 60% design to set up meeting with the DOT and Beaufort Jasper in the middle of August. You slipped the F instead of the SC, so we'll correct that. A couple of things that he and I discussed today had to do with roads resurfacing, depending upon where the utility is located. Because we're dealing with SCDOT roads, we'll probably be looking at least one lane of repair when we do that. I know that sometimes we've done it downtown, we've looked at replacing 2 lanes, but we'll contemplate 1 here. So that's something that he's going to work out with SCDOT as that project moves forward. 1013th 11th Street, council asked me to have him look at that again. I know he met with the homeowner and he's revising some plans based upon those interactions. Y'all did receive several months ago that first scope of work, which is about $53,000 to address drainage improvements there. All right. Next is the Paris Avenue Streetscape CDBG project. Proposal is J.K. Tiller, still waiting on the irrigation proposal. I'm not sure why. We've completed the letter for environmental review and it has also been submitted. We still don't have environmental clearance from the feds yet, but we're still hoping to have completion by December of 2022. Dominion Energy streetlights. If you recall, we signed a contract to do the conversion of the existing streetlights with Dominion. Michael was able to meet with several employees, Mike Locklear, Robert Garvin, and Blakely. Existing tree lights in town will be replaced with LED lights, arms replaced as needed. Anticipating start probably sometime in early October. They'll give us a couple weeks heads up before they begin that work. Looked at some of the safety measures in place. They did kind of discuss the idea of the interface between the streetscape improvements as well as what they're doing there. And they're going to meet later in August to discuss how we're going to make those 2 things mesh. He's going to take a look at some of the gaps in lighting to see if there's some additional spots or spaces that we need to add to address some dark spots, if you will. And he will set up a meeting and send the invitation out. If any of y'all may be interested in attending, you're more than welcome to. A couple of these are...
one quick, go back to the streetscape.
Yeah.
How far along, when do you think they'll be able to do a presentation to us of what they're looking at?
I don't know. I haven't asked him, but I'll be happy to do that. Maybe we can do it in September.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice if we can see kind of a presentation of where they are, even if it's conceptual or whatever, 30-40% plans. Let's see what they're thinking about.
Yeah.
Council, you good?
Perfect. A couple, they're still dealing with the Waddell Road crosswalk. And then the second one is Paris Avenue traffic devices. That's all part of the streetscape program. I did get an email today from Jared Fralix. Apparently there are some TAP funds that become available through SCDOT. He was asking if there's anything particular. A lot of these have to be almost shovel-ready, engineered and ready to go. You know, my initial suggestion was to look at, you know, connecting that pathway they're contemplating along Rebo Road. Maybe run something down Drayton to get the people to the Spanish Moss Trail in either direction. But I don't think, there's no engineering on that. So he had talked about where we were with the Spanish Moss crossing and the engineered drawing for that. So we may take a look at that, but we may also look at some of the stuff that we had looked at for improvements up near the intersection of Paris Avenue because of the left-hand turn. We'll see if it qualifies or not. It may not under the stipulations of TAP, but we'll look into that because we know that's engineered. BO Engineering's already done that. So, but it really almost needs to be ready to go. So,
What about over at Bala, across from, wasn't there engineering work that was already done on that intersection with the traffic, the mast lights having to be replaced?
I don't know the developer got into engineering yet,
I was just wondering.
but I can certainly ask him, see how far along he's
Just
got.
thinking about something that might be
Yeah.
have engineering completed already.
Yeah.
Okay.
So give that some thought. I'm and answer in 3 or 4 days, so we've got some time. All right. Next is Sands Beach. We have a meeting set with the county to discuss ownership of that particular boat landing. If you recall, we've had discussions about, I think it's 3 or 4 that the county identified that they do not have any sort of title work to that indicate that they may own boat landings, and one of those is Sands Beach. I think that there's some deed work that was uncovered by an attorney that may give some idea of who is the actual owner, and it would lead them to believe that we may own the Sands Beach boat landing. But for the past 3 or 4 decades, basically, the county has maintained all of the boat landings in Beaufort County, more or less a handshake agreement. So we'll see what is a result of the meeting that we have with the county as to ultimate ownership and ultimate maintenance. So, anyways,
Council, that meeting's next week right now, I think is what I saw.
yeah.
Let us know, Van, because I think I would like to attend that meeting.
All right. Spanish Moss Trail, there's nothing really new right now to report this time. Obviously, we're working through the engineered drawing for the crossing. We've sent off a letter, kind of waiting for some response to that.
Well, I think I heard that the drawings are like 60%. Is that what you heard on the engineering
I think
drawings?
so, and that was kind of what Jared indicated in the emails back and forth, that they were pretty close on that one. Shrimp facility, we are addressing water and power issues for the ice machine now, working with both utilities. As you can imagine, there's a metered mess over there, identifying the existing meters and what they connected to, and identifying and specifying addresses, because now we were 1111 11th Street, but now that is the address that's assigned to what will be the brewery. So we're having to create a new address for the ice machine, as well as for the water and ice. And of course, obvious, most of it is temporary, but we agreed to make sure that there was ice still in place for the shrimpers. I did make arrangements for fuel to be delivered. They do have minimum requirements, however, they're willing to work with the shrimper to get some some fuel out there, and I think it was supposed to happen this afternoon.
That's good.
So I put them together to make sure that happens.
Who? No, he made arrangements to get fuel delivery from one of the shrimpers. Well, thank you for working that, because I know there was a minimum and that was stopping us
Yeah.
originally.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were able to work something out for them.
As I told you last month, we do have all the speed bumps and four-way stops in, finally got those here. But we had a little storm in between now and then, so that timeline for getting those things installed is pushed back a little bit. We're working through getting debris cleaned up, and once that gets to a point where we can address the installation of these speed bumps, we'll get there. Porter's Chapel, still need some calendar dates for you guys so we can pull this thing together. So if y'all can do that, I would appreciate it. I did speak with the finance department of the county today, and they are processing that reimbursement for the grant that we were awarded. So
Okay.
You do have the contact information for the family, correct?
we will, as soon as we figure out a date, we're
Right.
going to reach out to them.
Brooke, I'll try to reach out to you tomorrow. We'll create something called a doodle poll. And let's create a doodle poll on that one and send it out. to
And I think I
council.
noticed also too, I guess some of those parishioners that attended Porter's Chapel during that time, if we can get the word out and see if perhaps there's some more
Oh, absolutely.
parishioners that still remain in the area that would like to at least be there or maybe even say something,
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
recap some of the history.
And I just gave you a brief overview of the local option sales tax, and there's been some discussion. I think there was a meeting. I think there was a meeting between the county and the chambers that we didn't participate. We were tied up with a COVID update call. And so we're waiting to hear a status report if there's going to be any sort of educational effort pulled together to see if that can be done. Smilex, Ron, we did work with the adjacent property owner. If y'all remember, y'all gave me stipulations to deal with ingress egress for the adjacent property owners, as well as ensuring that the utility easements were in place, and they were contained in that document. So we're close to squared away on that one. So pretty excited. Hopefully we'll get some sort of master plan for the remainder of that. The next item is good. Y'all can take a gander of it, but don't get too comfortable seeing Brooke sitting over here next to me. Her position is evolving. She's taking on a lot of more responsibilities, more project-related work, and probably some management for me. So I know that's something that you're interested in seeing happen, and I think I found the ideal candidate for that. So, of course, then we have to fill these shoes, and that's something we'll be taking care of.
Oh, very good.
All right.
I want to go back to Ron, to Smilek, not to pass up Brooke, congratulations, and we look forward to it. And, but Smilek and Ron, have we taken any of the other discussions further about the other roads in the area?
Not yet.
Okay. Very good.
American Recovery Act, some of y'all probably received the email from the Municipal Association. They did participate in a committee meeting with the Senate about the release of the funds, but obviously the state legislature has to request the funds be released from the federal government in order for it to be passed through. For those of you that don't know, entitlement communities, that means larger municipalities in the state of South Carolina, the counties, have received their dollars, but the non-entitled communities have not. So there's about $435 million that should have been released to municipalities in the state of South Carolina that hasn't.
They're still holding up, yes.
Yes.
I did find that I did find that the statement, the reasons given by the committee was rather, I'll read it. So,
Condescending?
What?
Condescending?
Condescending, I guess that's it. So the concerns expressed by the subcommittee were, in particular, that unentitled, like us, those smaller populations lack the resources and ability to spend the money.
And what's so disheartening.
Let's say that I will be making phone calls to those subcommittee members about what the town of Port Royal's ability is to spend $4 million with the rules that are in place for the town of Port Royal. Because we certainly have the staff and the management to spend that money properly. And they will hear that from me. I didn't get to read this till about 4:30 today, so I haven't done anything about it yet, but I will be doing something about that. I found that extremely difficult to swallow when I read it.
Right.
Not only that, I'm going to work and I'm on listening to the radio, flipping back and forth, and on national news, and South Carolina was identified as withholding the pennies.
Yeah.
Of all 50 states, they specifically said South Carolina.
South Carolina. So
I agree.
everybody, stop planning on finding out who that subcommittee is, and we'll pass it on, start making some phone calls for the town of Port Royal. So.
And then Skateboard Park, obviously Praise Assembly did a great job of leading the effort for renovations and repairs. We participated financially with them, but they organized the labor, both professional and volunteers. To get that done, I'd like to recognize them either next week or maybe in September.
Absolutely, set something up, bring them in.
Absolutely. I provide you a little bit of background on the landfill issue. I think we've resolved that question. So we're hoping that will move along. It won't be an issue much more. That you can see we talked a little bit about 16th Street. That's being adjudicated right now, so I don't want to go into too much depth there. Naval Hospital sidewalk, I did reach out to the DOT when the fence was breached by the accident and suggested maybe they coordinate with the Department of Navy when they repair the fence, that maybe we could move forward with trying to get that sidewalk completed. I know that the DOT did reach out to them and got somewhat of a nebulous answer, but we at least put it out there. Figured it would be a good opportunity to maybe fix something that could be needed fixing for sure. Tornado follow-up. We continue to add to the damage assessment numbers. You know, we're between 45 and 50 structures that were damaged due to the storm, never mind the significant tree damage. You know, there are things that, you know, we started thinking about. They're added, you know, the washout of 12th Street and a few other things that we're coming across. I mean, we had some trees that we had to deal with with live oak. If you probably saw today, we're repairing the live oak structure, replacing the roof. We've got to do some landscaping there, deal with electricity issues. Obviously, the Christmas tree lighting was damaged also. But all these things start to accumulate. And from what we were hearing from the county is that, you know, we hadn't reached the threshold for any sort of declaration. But I think we may be visiting that. I know that one of the stipulations that I think 40% of the losses have to be uninsured. I don't know how any of that could be determined just yet, unless they're working with some clearinghouse with insurance companies. But obviously, we're very aware of what happened at Port Royal Veterinary Clinic, which is pretty significant. So there are a few others, and I think they're probably finding that there's other damage around the county that they're pulling together. I know Brooke has been working with the spreadsheet that we've pulled together and trying to keep it as updated as possible and passing that information along to the damage assessment coordinator for Beaufort County. So,
Did we get a chance to do a survey of the cypress wetland palms all the way through to see what tree damage happened?
yeah, well,
in the
there's
other
certain
ones?
there. If you look at the main one, and this is the one Jeff and I were in on. Well, I wasn't in it. Jeff was in it. A couple of days ago. I mean, there are probably in the 16th Street wetland alone, there's probably 5 or 6 trees down of significance. And in addition to the trees being down, what Jeff was finding in that system, because it was causing problems further down the system, we had a lot of debris up in the culverts that connect those. So we're trying to get those cleared out now. But some of those trees were down before, but several of them were definitely taken down because of that. So we probably have in the other wetlands probably 10 to 15 trees that went down as a result of the storm. So you figured the difficulty of that, you know, we had 3 trees, significant trees, and that was $7,000. So you figure it out, trying to get in there to address those trees is going to be a challenge.
I know, but that's certainly a cost we can add to it,
Yeah,
because we gotta
exactly.
address them somehow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
In that way. What does Jeff think as far as cleanup? Where does he think he is? What percentage at this point? You know?
I'd say we're more than 50%. I mean, we were able to the massive pile that we had at the Gray Ghost property is pretty much gone from what we had initially stockpiled there. But if you drive around, you'll still see a fair amount of tree debris that's there. You know, one of the questions the county had was, "Oh, your tonnage is so much higher," and like, well, we're cleaning up from a tornado.
Ben, does
That happens.
Does Jeff have sufficient staffing to assist with what he's normally tasked to do in addition to all this?
Well, where we are, the city of Beaufort stepped up in a big way. So they were helpful. They brought some containers out, and Jeff has been working with some other private haulers to do that also. And then there's another company we work with out of Yemassee that I've got a price sheet for some of their additional equipment and what their daily rates are, and so we may do that. And I've asked them any of the other tasks that, like I wanted to get Degler out to clean some boxes out and do some things. So we're trying to do as much as we can on the private side as we can to kind
Just
of
to give them
alleviate a
some
little bit of
support
that.
also, because Jeff and our Public Works Department are really overtaxed. Yeah. And they don't complain.
Well, I don't know that they're overtaxed. We've added employee. Right now, they may be temporarily.
So you got
overtaxed.
one? We added one?
Yeah, last year. Yeah, we added Vaughn last year. So, but it's also about equipment. I mean, we had the equipment go down.
And the new truck?
Yeah, so it just went
We're
down.
waiting on the other truck to be delivered.
Yeah.
Never
Right.
comes on time.
Yeah.
On the tornado also, I heard today, of a young granddaughter, I believe it was, right?
Yep.
Granddaughter of somebody we know in town, and who was so concerned about the Port Royal Veterinary Clinic. She does not live in Port Royal, but she set up a lemonade stand to raise money for the Port Royal Veterinary Clinic, and I think the number was close to $4,000.
That's awesome.
It was pretty, and I've asked them to reach out. It's David Yeoman's family, is the family.
Wow.
I think I'd like to have her in here and thank her for what she did.
Yeah, her name is Leslie Yeomans.
Leslie Yeomans. It was just a small
WTOC
lemonade-
did a story about it today. She lemonade and cupcakes.
Lemonade and cupcakes.
Taking care of business. 9-year-old donates money to help Port Royal Vet Hospital recover from storm damage. So, yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So we'd
Yeah.
definitely like to try to reach out to them and ask her to come in, and I'd like to thank her.
Great.
For that. I know there's been a lot of activity, and we want to thank everybody, but when I heard that story personally, I just was like, you know,
No, but when they, I mean, I felt so bad. They had the fundraiser planned, and then it got rained out. So, but they're going to try and reschedule that. So hopefully, when it gets rescheduled, we can get some push that out there too. So,
The beer garden.
yeah.
And then the final item I have is we are looking at that first piece or module of the short-term rental software, which is just the identifying piece. Help us locate that will, kind of peruse all of the online platforms and give us an assessment of how many units we actually have out there. And what they're paid is tied to the number of units they find. So it's not I think right now, even if we had 100, that's 3,500. And that's for the first year. And then after that, it goes down to $25 for the following years. So we haven't asked for the letter writing or the code piece of it, just the identifying piece. So that was kind of the feel I got from council on that. So that's what we have lined up.
and then they also have the ability for the units to do online tax paying. We'll have to
Yeah,
see
they
what
will.
that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
As well, to make it easier. That definitely reduces staff's time.
Mm-hmm.
People having to come in, and reduces the operator's time to having to come into town hall if they can pay online, so we'll have to poll them and see what they want to do with that. I don't know that we can wait any longer for Jerry, we may have to just move on. Council, any questions about the council update? Anything more you need to hear from Dan?
So good.
Everybody's good? Okay, so we're gonna go back to our interviews. We have,
We can review the agenda.
want to review the agenda?
Yeah.
I think that's just yeah, we can review the agenda. That's fine. Let's do an agenda review. Making you jump all over the place. Can we get it posted?
It is a workshop, so you have that flexibility.
Give Jerry a few more minutes.
Trying our best. You told me 7:45, 6:45, it's almost 7
That
now.
might have been bad.
All right. Okay. Do you want to start with the second readings?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, it's 2127, ordinance to rezone approximately 3.24 acres. And there are the door dings. Real estate located in Beaufort County described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, map 9, parcel 36 and 204 in Beaufort County, South Carolina, to be rezoned from T4 Urban Center to T4 Neighborhood Center Open. Municipal Planning Commission considered the application of that was submitted. They did give a unanimous approval for the request. You do have the staff analysis. I don't know if Noah has anything, but we do have a representative of the applicant here, I believe. Steve, are you here? Where are you at?
If y'all like me to just give
Sure.
a little bit of the details.
I thought I saw
I
Steve.
believe
and-
Steve was trying to, hoping that I could say enough that he wouldn't have to come up here, so. As it was stated by Van and in the public hearing, the rezoning request is for T4 Urban Center to T4 Neighborhood Center Open. There are very minor differences in uses between those two zoning districts. As I've stated before, the primary difference is the permitted use of personal storage facilities. The only other difference, I believe, would be building heights, which I think we are at I always forget this one, 2.5 stories rather than the higher building heights that were allowed under T4 Urban Center. And those are kind of the only two differences between the zonings for the purposes of this lot. So if y'all have any questions.
Council, questions about this rezoning? Okay, no, thank you. Steve gets off. First readings.
All right. The next one is 2128, an ordinance to rezone approximately 95.81 acres of real estate located in Beaufort County described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, Map 6, Parcel 3C, and Beaufort County, South Carolina, to be rezoned from T3 neighborhood to T1 natural preserve. This was also unanimously recommended by the Metro Planning Commission. I'm not sure if we have a representative of the applicant here or not, but obviously.
It would be Dean.
Okay. Well, he's not here. But this obviously is a, well, it depends, I don't want to interpret it as a downzoning, but it's, in terms of intensity of use, it obviously is. And I think it's going to be complementary to what the Port Royal Sound Foundation is doing with their other facility across the road.
If anybody doesn't recognize, this is on the other side of Lemon Island at the Port Royal Sound Foundation across the street.
Yeah, point that out, that little yellow part up there is the Port Royal
Port Royal
Sound
Sound
Foundation.
Foundation, right. the
And
little
a lot of
box
people
at
don't
the
know
top.
that's actually in Port Royal, so,
All of this is in Port Royal.
right.
Yep.
Yep. I think they're planning on a kind of a educational center on
Is
that.
that the
on that.
Maritime Center right there?
That's the Maritime Center right across the
Right,
street.
right, that's what I meant.
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Maritime.
okay, so-
So it's kind
Port
of
Royal
over,
Sound.
And this is the marina.
kind of across and over to the, just a little bit to the
Yep,
right.
yep.
And I would imagine knowing them, it would stick with the conservation
Yes,
theme, their whole mission.
They're looking for an education center and a lab and that kind of stuff to really evaluate Port Royal Sound and use this property for that, and working with the schools, so.
Yeah,
I think it's
that's great.
The county has some of this as well, isn't it? The some
The
of those-
landing, is it?
Aren't they right, is that the little box that's missing there? I think that's the, am I right?
Yeah,
No,
well,
no,
both
may
of-
no.
Both of them are jointly owned.
Okay,
So 2016, the Rural and Critical Lands Program purchased this jointly with the Port Royal Sound Foundation.
okay,
The small kind of box in the center there is what's being looked at for the educational interpretive center or lab, what have you. The rest will be untouched field for the research. And, yeah, so, significant downzoning. It was originally, just for a little bit of the history, it was annexed in 2005, I believe. There were some legal challenges to that. The compromise that was made was approving up to 125 single-family homes on this tract. That development never happened, and so now, since 2016, the purchase by the Rural and Critical Lands Program and the foundation has come to this head, where we are looking at about 100 acres right on the Port Royal Sound being preserved.
thank you.
Yeah, it went from 250 to 125 to 0.
Yeah.
Good work.
And then ordinance 2129, an ordinance to adopt a revised business license ordinance in accordance with the Business License Standardization Act, 2020 Act number 176. Kind of a compromise between the municipalities and the legislature. What did Old Town do with some concerns about standardization of practices across the state of South Carolina in terms of renewal periods or renewal dates, standardization of the classifications for the types of businesses, because it was kind of all over the place. And if you're a contractor, you might be working in 10 different jurisdictions, might have 10 different due dates and 10 different profitability classifications. So the compromise was to adopt something that could be done statewide that gave a level of predictability. Along with that is potentially the development of a portal which would allow businesses to renew online. The initial application would still need to be done in the office once you establish your business, but then you could go online and do that. And as a part of that process, beyond just the standardization of some of those things, we had to, well, I guess the term, normalize or figure out a way that none of us were getting a windfall based upon the new classifications. So we're trying to reconcile all of our own breakdowns of classifications each municipality is, so that it's kind of gauged well. So nobody gets hit too hard in either direction, making too much money with new classifications or losing too much. So that's kind of where we are now. And I know Cynthia is attending some sort of round table.
She has two for this month.
Two for this month. I can't remember, were you attending too?
I'm going.
Yeah, she's going as well. Just so we're making sure we have a belt suspenders approach to that.
Okay. Then the other items for,
We have council action.
right?
We have one appointment. I think y'all have delayed interviews, and I think I just got a text from Jerry. He said he's almost here.
Okay.
So, yeah. He's on Paris. Just texted me. And then the next item, and I don't know if you want to wait for him to get here to do this, is a
Yep.
discussion of the redevelopment commission,
Then we can do both of them.
which, we can, if you want to give him a couple minutes, I'm sure he'll be rolling in here.
I have an announcement, I guess I can make before, well.
Yeah, well, the other thing is, if you want to talk about access to town hall and COVID and that stuff.
Yeah.
The announcement first?
Either
Or
or.
hear that? Go ahead.
Yeah, if you probably noticed, we did space the chairs back out. We did put we had started to take those down, but we put them back up.
Thank you.
And so, we're following a little bit of the lead. The city has decided to go back with masking requirements in their buildings. I wanted to get input from council. I mean, I think, obviously staff has the discretion to make that call, but I thought it was important to get input from council on your thoughts about that. We're behind plexiglass in the office when people do come in. We can suggest certainly that they do those things. We're also still under a court order for how the court system is administered in terms of masking as well as social distancing, and that order is still in place. So we're abiding by those standards in this building also. But that's kind of where we are. We all understand that the Delta variant is a little bit different variation of COVID. I know a lot of us are already vaccinated, but that's where we are.
Council, any input on requiring masks in the building?
There's certainly a lot of discussion about it now nationally as to which direction everyone's going to go with the uptick in numbers.
Yeah, I guess, my thought and concern is we have such a small staff, we lose somebody, the load gets pretty heavy on the others. And it appears, even though the vaccine seems to be working, it's certainly not foolproof for the Delta variant.
That's true.
We all know people that are getting it that are vaccinated at this point. I think if staff feels more comfortable with it, I mean, it's just, especially if you've got to get up close and friendly, let's put the mask back on when people come in, and maybe we start doing that again, and we'll have to look at doing the same come next week
Yeah.
at our council meeting if you decide to go that way.
Okay.
I certainly would rather, my opinion is I would rather do masks than close this door and lock it again and have people stand outside again waiting for you to come out. So I think that's maybe an easier first step, and then we see where we go from there, is to if you think about putting masks in place, so we don't have to lock the front door again. It's the rest of the council's
agree.
thought on that.
I agree with you.
I support that.
I think we need to go back to doing the mask in here and the mask in the office. And then as we watch the numbers, it depends on what the numbers do to whether we shut the doors again like we had. That's what I feel.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
How is our HVAC system, filtration system?
It's as old as this building is. I mean, we have a system that does some sort of dehumidifying, if you will, but nothing beyond that. So that would be a complete overhaul. I mean, we could look at some changes in filters and that sort of thing. But we did participate in that call last week. Obviously, the hospital is ringing some alarms. We had, before we decided to take the mask off, we had used 5% as the threshold of positive tests. If we felt comfortable, once you go below that, we felt comfortable taking the mask off. Well, right now they're at about 14% positive in the testing that they're doing, and when we were on that call, they had 4 in ICU, and then by the end of the call, we were updated there were 6 in ICU for COVID related. diseases, COVID-related. So, that's something we need to keep in mind. And school's about to start as well, so let's just complicate it even more.
Yeah, and my thoughts were just with the people that actually work here in the building, to defer to them every single day. I mean, we're on council, everybody sees us, but we're in the building 3-4 times a month. The people that actually do the heavy lifting and make the town run and are here every single day doing the work, I was gonna defer to y'all on what y'all were comfortable with as far as masks. I do think it's premature to close off public meetings, and I think this is kind of a good compromise we're in, but yeah, I mean, whatever. Yeah, you guys get the job done, so whatever you're comfortable with,
Yeah. I think what you're hearing is you got our support if you feel it's necessary to do it. Jerry, what we're talking about is masking here, to get you a little bit up to speed, and pretty much council had said that we support whatever Van's decision is as far as if he wants to mask up again inside of town hall. We all felt it was important that we do that step before we try to close town hall again and keep people out.
Yes, sir.
Just so that you know, that's where we are. We've gone through the agenda and reviewed the agenda, and we've also done a council briefing in that aspect. Okay?
Well, yeah, I don't know if y'all wanted, you had item B, I don't know,
We're there?
waiting. No, I don't know if you want to wait for Jared to get here, or if you want to bounce back to the interviews.
Well, let's go ahead and finish the agenda, considering we're on it. So let's go ahead and do item B, which is the discussion of the redevelopment commission. So have
If you
some-
want, I can just give you a brief
Yeah.
history as I've become aware of it. It originated in '97. There was what was formerly called the Ad Hoc Committee, which is an organization or a group of concerned citizens that had come together. What then the council did, and this is ordinance 97-12, was pull together the redevelopment commission and formalize it under basically the auspices of the Community Development Act that the state legislature passed. Obviously, there's significant powers associated with that. It's interesting to note from the minutes when I read it, Councilman Smalls was pretty emphatic about, let's make sure that that group reports to council and keeps them aware of what they're up to and what their activities are, and then kind of understand what the hierarchy of the organization was. So basically, it was stood up, and then it became active really again with the port redevelopment. And at that time, council added, they did a few things. One, they added as ad hoc members the utilities, because they felt like the utilities were going to be very involved in the redevelopment port. And then they did have to amend it to add, at that time, they added 22 acres of the waterborne industrial district, which encompassed a lot of what was the port property. And it mentions highway commercial zones and general commercial zones. Well, obviously, we don't have highway commercial zoning anymore or general commercial zoning. So the document involved a little bit further to discuss commercial corridors, because obviously we thought there was other areas that should be done. And then it added, I believe, Port Landing Marina is done, because redevelopment commissions are basically geographically based, because you're supposed to be focusing on blighted areas. That's part of the enabling legislation. And so that's kind of where we work. As it was stood up, there's supposed to be 7 members. Now, for years, we basically operated with 5. But where you are right now is you've got 3. So they can't really do anything at the moment because you don't even have enough for a quorum. Because you have 3 of 7. Even if all 3 showed up, you couldn't do anything. So what we've seen in other communities is typically redevelopment commissions are mission-driven. They look at particular issues, particular redevelopment projects, particular areas. They address those concerns, and then they might move on to the next area of expertise or a next area that needs to be addressed, or wherever the case may be. City of Beaufort stood theirs down 2 years ago. I guess they felt like they were done. And so that led y'all to your discussion of what do you see as the potential mission of the redevelopment commission moving forward. Obviously, there are some things that they're pretty prescribed to. Obviously, it's geographic in nature for the most part. But ultimately, they do answer to council. So there you go.
Okay. Do you believe that what we have now has enough geographical teeth to it, or do we need to be redefined? Seems to be a little bit vague.
Well, some of the discussions that we started to have were about the Rebo Road corridor, is that one? Because, redevelopment stepped in, played an instrumental role in creating the blueprint for the redevelopment of the port, got purchased, here we are. They took on some other things, entryway signage, stood up the Port Royal Pride program was one of the things that they did. And they had started sniffing around a little bit of some studies. They brought in, I think it was Dr. Salazar from the USCB to kind of talk a little bit about Port Royal. And then something we discussed more recently was what could happen or be done in the Rebo Road corridor. But I don't, that's geographically limited. Are there sections of it that would qualify as underdeveloped or blighted? Probably, sure.
Yeah.
So do we need to maybe look at revisiting the redevelopment commission to maybe make some changes in there? I mean, I don't think we should get rid of it, but I think maybe we might want to revisit and try to
Focus
see,
it,
because we do
give them,
have-
it sounds like we need to give them a mission. We need to tell them what we want them to look at, what we want them to do. And,
Yeah.
we've all said that Rebo Road is certainly one of those areas
Absolutely.
that, and that's truly redevelopment in a lot of ways, where some of the other areas are just greenfield development. So I think that's true, Mary Beth. I think it's what we need to be thinking about. And then, what is the right number of members?
Right. Definitely
We
not.
struggle with getting, filling all of our commissions as it is 9 too many? Obviously with 2 being ad hoc from the utilities one was from the county and one was from BJWSA, and neither one has had anybody attend a meeting in years, from my understanding. I think Dick Dool may have been the last Water Authority
Yeah.
representative that showed up to one of those meetings, and he's been retired for 3 years now, I think. So, maybe they're not appropriate. Maybe that's somebody they invite if they need them in that aspect, rather than saying they're part of the committee. Certainly, there's an engineering staff at either one of those facilities that say, hey, can you join us? We're talking about this, like we get joined into other meetings in that way. So then we're down to the 7. Is 7 the right number? And, how do we do that from there?
Well,
We
I
have
think-
3 active.
Yeah, I think that we're gonna have to look at whether we come down to 5 or stay at 7 once we redo to determine what we're gonna ask them to be responsible for. So that's gonna determine, I feel, of how many people we need on that board.
Well, if you have 7, is 4 a quorum or 5 a quorum?
If you have 7?
If it's 7, it's 4. It's
So if
4.
you have 7, then you can have a meeting with 4.
4 is a quorum.
Okay. Yeah, my thoughts on, historically, it seems like Port Royal sometimes can be looked over in the county. So I think having Port Royal groups look out for each other and help each other out is probably a positive thing. Many hands make light work, so I'd hate to see us get rid of it. But yeah, I think you definitely, it's never a bad idea to, revisit issues and make sure that, mission statements are still correct and that,
Right. How do we
everybody
bring-
knows what they're doing. I mean,
And how do we bring the Economic Development Board into this picture? I mean, that seems to me to be, that those two need to work so hand in hand, and certainly we don't want to ask our volunteers to serve on 2 committees. But, you feel like, again, that the representative on the Economic Development Board maybe needs to be on the redevelopment commission, but that's asking a lot of a single citizen who's volunteering their time in that way. And is there some other way to make that happen? Do we reach out to the Economic Development Committee, see if they're willing to put an ad hoc member? If they're willing to be an ad hoc member?
I don't know, we'll have to ask them.
Not our volunteer.
Yeah.
But not our volunteer. They have some staff, they have some people that do things. Is that person rather than?
Well, I
Yeah,
can
that's
tell
what I'm
you-
thinking about, and we think about it in that way. I think then we have them right in the room, who, if something comes up, Charlie can take it back and take it back to that board and
Right.
say, hey, this little thing, Port Royal's doing something we may want to get involved with, and obviously we got a great advocate on the board to help us with that. So, I don't know, what's everybody's thoughts about that? Asking to see if they're willing to be an ad hoc on that.
I know they've been very engaged. Whenever they've been asked to come, they've certainly come.
Yeah, the meetings are, both groups are open to the public and can be attended by anyone at any time. And you're correct, whenever they've been asked to be at a redevelopment committee, I mean, they've done presentations, they've
Yeah,
done a lot of work for them, so.
very active.
Yep. Any other thoughts? So,
No.
go ahead, Terry, look like you had
No,
something.
no, I'm good. I'm just kind of thinking it all over in my head right now.
Yeah, we're not, obviously not gonna make any decisions tonight, it's just, it's the start of a discussion. And I guess, so the first thing is that geographical area, which we're kinda talking about, Rebo Road, so bridge to bridge, beyond, bridge to Burger King. You know, that's that area. And then, if that makes sense to council, and then is it, do we stick with the 7, so that, you know, 4 members gives you a good quorum? Do we go to, you know?
7, why not 5? It's more
Manageable.
obtainable.
It is.
7 is a tough number.
7 is a
number
tough,
for
that's what I'm
us.
saying. 5, you still have it where you don't have a deadlock unless one person's absent. But still, you know, I support it, but, you know, I think 7 is stretched for a small
I don't disagree.
town.
I don't disagree.
If we were, you know, incorporated Beaufort County, yes, but small as Port Royal, I think 5 is reasonable.
Okay.
Well, I think you got 5 voting members, and then you
Right.
have your ad hoc,
And your ad hoc.
so there you go.
Exactly.
And the
Put it
town,
back
remember,
up.
there's always a town representative.
Yeah.
Town staff needs to be involved with these meetings, you know, more heavily than some of our others at times, because there's so much things, and I don't know if that's Noah, sorry. I don't know if that's Noah. I mean, again, those are kind of the things I think you and your staff need to have that conversation about who that is, that sits on it from a town staff perspective.
And not only that, I like that also because see, you have 7, then you got 4 with a quorum, it's deadlock. You got 5, then it's 3, and therefore you still got it. There you go.
There's always a possibility that you get to there, and that's when you gotta talk a little bit. Van, do you think you have enough, you've heard enough that you can start formulating some sort of a revision to the
Yeah, well,
ordinance?
we would have to amend the ordinance.
Right.
So you could remember the membership terms, or, which obviously dictates how many voting members there are.
Right.
And then, as you'll note, the editor's note, that in November of '08, we expand jurisdiction of the redevelopment to include all commercial corridors within the town. That's a bit
Vague.
unspecific.
Yeah, that's kind of vague, yeah.
And that it's also tied to what was highway commercial and general commercial, which those are zoning designations
Don't
no
exist.
longer exist. So theoretically, their jurisdiction is dubious or could be questioned right now, so I think you need to clean that up.
Yeah, I mean, I can foresee them, you know, we've talked about this in council, we talked about a workshop, and I talked about it with the water authority. I can see then having the redevelopment commission being the group that works with the water authority to identify water and sewer on all of those lots down Reebok Road, because that's a big part of development and redevelopment happening, is that available. And, you know, then you get from water and sewer to gas, what's available there, and you go down that whole line of things. Greg wants to say something, he's got this look on his face.
If you recall the meeting that we had a few weeks ago with John.
Just so that everybody knows, Greg's our Economic Development Board member for Port Royal, so certainly this is a conversation I would love to hear some input from him. Council's fine with Greg adding? Greg, come on up, thank you.
Yeah.
For everybody else who didn't know, Greg's, that's his.
Just the guy in the corner.
Just the guy sitting there in that picture.
What we were talking about is in parallel to what you were just talking about with Rebo, in terms of economic development on a county level, looking at where within Port Royal some of the projects that we're currently reviewing would make sense here on Rebo within Port Royal. In addition, some of the ones that we're just now flushing out. So the reason I bring that up is that in a parallel track, Mr. Mayor, in terms of what you were just referencing with redevelopment, it is, we're basically looking at and working on some of the same things. So it makes sense. It's just who that representative might be.
Yeah. As Greg sits down quickly.
As Greg says, I'm
Don't make eye contact.
Yeah.
You feel like you have direction to start
Right.
some modifications?
Yeah, and I think,
We'll obviously
in
have a
terms of
lot more
that
time to talk about it after we see modifications.
Sure.
and I think that jurisdiction, we need to fine tune. I'll present you with some maps to give you some ideas of, rather than tying it to any sort of specific zoning designation, it might make more sense geographically. to have a map that kind of delineates their area of jurisdiction.
Can you notify the existing members that are still there of what the
Yeah.
plan is and what's happening? And,
Yeah,
so
because
that way they know
at
exactly
best,
what's
you know,
going on?
they can't vote on anything, but, you know, they can still meet, and they may have some suggestions on a jurisdictional map.
Okay, if that's something you want to put the group together, then
Yeah.
get them up to speed on what we discussed and what's happening in that way. Everybody good with that discussion?
Yes, sir.
We'll move back to our regularly scheduled program. We're going back all the way to the agenda now. We're going all the way back to the agenda, and we skipped our first item, and sorry to make everybody sit around so long. We have the interviews for board positions.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to excuse myself at this time due to a conflict.
Okay.
Just so you know, when the interviews are over, I'll return.
We'll reach out to you. Thank you so much for that. So we have interviews for board. As everybody knows, we started this past year where we interview people who are submitted for any of our boards or commissions. Tonight, we have the BJWSA board, which is a board position that is a term of 6 years. So it is our longest a board appointment in that way. And we have two applicants. We have the incumbent, Brandy. Brandy Gray has been on, come up, tell us, explain, and, you know, you're first. Kind of, it's okay.
Might make googly eyes. I'm Brandy Gray. I've been the Beaufort Jasper Water Sewer Authority Board Representative for the town of Port Royal now for 18 years. And certainly I've enjoyed that term. I've served as chairpersons of both personnel, finance, capital projects, as well as chairman of the board.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Can
I'm
you
sorry.
can you all pick her up?
Did you hear me?
We're live, so we want to make sure everyone can hear you.
Mask's a little bit muffling, so did you want me to start over? Oh, good. Okay.
Okay.
And did you have any questions? I mean, I'm interviewing.
Council, questions?
I wanted to hear more about, just, could you tell us a little bit more about what you do and what you've done the past 18 years, some accomplishments that we've done, just kind of give us an overview, kind of take a moment to gather your thoughts and just, for a couple of minutes, just kind of brag on yourself and what we've done here in Port Royal and what we've been able to do and what we hope to do.
I mean, certainly I think we've accomplished a lot in Port Royal over the course of that time. When I joined that board, I was very young, not very knowledgeable about water and sewer, but certainly was given the opportunity to learn a lot over the course of the time. I appreciate the fact that we were able to protect infrastructure, install new infrastructure. I think our biggest thing over here is certainly expanding sewer to more residents, and we all know that that can be a costly measure. We adopt a pretty, hefty budget every year, but we also plan ahead with all of our CIP projects, and we've been able to partner with you all many of times through CDBG grants to bring those less fortunate areas into current water and sewer projects so that we can afford to be able to do that in a reasonable manner. So certainly that's been a big piece of ours. Our biggest focus lately has been replacing old water lines that definitely have become a problem not only in the city of Beaufort but in the town of Port Royal. We certainly have a couple on the pipeline right now for Cypress Street, Paris Island Gateway, as well as Edinburgh Avenue, 15th Street, 17th Street, all in the town of Port Royal. So we've looked at different pockets throughout the two
Just
county
old
areas.
pipes that are no longer being functionable or
Well, no, they're
material
functioning,
or what?
but they're probably, 50 years old? Some may be a little bit older. They are
what kind of
actually
material are those old pipes
galvanized.
made of? Okay.
So they certainly have been around for quite some time. Some have been in the ground, and some of the pictures that we've seen certainly are
Right.
not great. But, certainly it's something that we are addressing.
Sure.
But it does take money. It's something that is not done overnight. As many of you know, we've got to plan for it. We've got to be able to, provide that service of clean water on a regular basis as well as sewer. So we've done some great things. We've done some amazing things with the Great Swamp of being able to reuse water from sewer. Helped establish and protect the infrastructure in the ground for trails, as well as the Spanish Moss Trail, which I know a lot of our folks really enjoy.
Right.
But certainly there are lots of great things we can do. And if you would like, I'd be happy to come on a regular basis to a workshop and share with you a little bit each time. kind of hard to toot your horn a little bit. I'm not used to that, so, but I'd be
Well,
happy to answer
I
anything
think a
for you.
recent project would be the West Paris project. I think an upcoming project, was that part of, that was CBG?
CDBG.
It's a CBDG grant.
And then
Yeah.
we've got some more projects across the road over there. I think we're,
I think we're
working
always
on-
looking for shovel-ready projects that can be easily attributed to over the course of time. So if you have a question or concern, I'm always available. My cell phone's public. I'd be happy to answer anything for you.
I got a question. What makes you the best person for this position?
Well, I certainly am concerned about the town of Port Royal. I've lived here for 48 years, raising my family here. I'm concerned about what's going on in this community at all times. I think I have contributed to the community not only as a representative from Beaufort Jasper, but I serve in other capacities as well. Currently, right now, I'm in geriatric care. I'm a healthcare administrator for a senior living community, so I devote a lot of my time to senior living and to the elderly. So there are definitely things that I do outside of my daytime business job and my civic hat for Beaufort Jasper as well.
Cool.
Do you have any challenges, or what are some challenges that you face in your ability to serve, in this, effectively in this community?
In terms of the board position,
Yes, yes.
I attend all of the meetings that are scheduled. I make myself available at any time. So I don't have any conflicts of interest at all.
How can the town, what can we as a council do to better help our representative from BJWSA?
Clear lines of communication, just pick up the phone and call me. If you guys have a question or concern about something, I'm happy to have conversations about it anytime. I've always made myself available, Dan. Anytime there was an issue or a concern, if there's a concern from a constituent, I've had folks reach out to me directly. But again, I'm accessible anytime. It doesn't matter if it's on the weekends or early in the morning or late at night. When you work in senior living, things happen 24/7, so you make yourself available for that.
I understand. Yeah. That's all the questions I have.
Questions?
My
Thank you
pleasure.
for your service. Thank you
Well,
for
thank
your
you.
service the past
You're welcome.
18.
3
18
terms,
years.
18
Yeah,
years.
yeah. Love to do it again, but we'll see how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you,
Well, I
Brandy.
have a question. When the Water Authority staff comes before the town, which they have this last year a couple of times, are you notified of that?
Sometimes I am. The most recent one you guys had in October, unfortunately, I had COVID in our building, so I didn't want to kind of engage in any of that for you all. So I was a little bit busier than normal for that time period. So, but that was something that they made me abreast of. But anytime that they're here, usually I'm been told about it or invited as well. Sometimes, I'd love it if, we're on the agenda on a regular basis.
Okay.
That's what prompted my question also,
Yeah.
as to whether or not you would be, is a challenge. I thought you were going to say, well, one of the challenges is not being notified, when.
Well, no, generally, they'll definitely let me know anything that's happening in the town of Port Royal, either via
Okay.
text or email. It's not an
So,
issue.
well,
I do know that you all had a meeting in October or November timeframe, and unfortunately, I was on quarantine at that time and not able to attend it, so.
Understand that?
And we had a
unfortunately.
virtual a couple of months back before that, too.
Oh, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's something I'll have to follow up with them about. But thank you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Brandy.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
The other applicant is David Strange. David? Now, David is not, obviously, because Brandy's been on it for 18 years, served on the board before.
Mayor, council members, thank you for having me back to speak with you again. I appreciate this opportunity to discuss with you my interest in serving on the board for Beaufort Jasper as the town's representative. Lynn and I have lived here in Port Royal in the Rice Point community for the past 5 years. And prior to that time, we lived our entire married lives up in the western suburbs of Philadelphia, Chester County, a county which, interestingly, along with the one in which I spent most of my working life, has a lot of similarities to Beaufort County here. Very diverse, great mix of populations, opportunities for development in commercial, a large number of manufacturing firms, and a lot of development that has taken place during the time that I've lived there. I had a 44-year career in the construction industry. Of greatest relevance, I think, though, is the last 25 years that I spent working for two large commercial and institutional construction management firms. There's a distinction between what typically takes place in construction in the way it's contracted for in public bidding and what we did as construction managers. Typically, we were brought in at very, very early stages of development, as early as schematic and sometimes even conceptual design. And working on the same side of the table as our owners, many of which were manufacturing firms, healthcare firms, hospitals that were independent of large organizations, and commercial companies. We worked hand in hand with the owner at the earliest stages of developing their projects. And just as as an example, one small typical example is one of those firms we were brought by our repeat client down to Bluffton, South Carolina. And we had never worked in South Carolina before, and we spent 4 years developing and building for them what are now Tangier 2 and then the redevelopment of Tangier 1 centers. That 4 years that we spent down here is what really prompted me to fall in love with the Low Country, in fact, and why we came back many years later. What's important to, for I think this position in terms of relevance is that it gave me the opportunity to truly understand what the dynamics and the occasional tension takes place when somebody wants to build on and either make money or do something of a nonprofit nature in a property like that. We had to interact not only with the utilities that we're going to serve, the power, the water, the sewer services, as well as, of course, with the local jurisdictions, another town, typical of Port Royal. The projects that we did during that period of time, during the 25 years, were generally pretty large. Our typical project in the last 7 years when I was with Skanska was over $50 million in put in place value. When I retired a few years ago, we actually had in place at that time over 5 $100 million projects. Every single one of those projects, we represented the owners at those early stages. We dealt with the costs, the capacity fees, the distribution of facilities that were going to go throughout the development, sometimes large campuses, sometimes standalone buildings. And I like to think that that has given me a real appreciation for how you represent in a board position like this, an understanding of what the town's trying to accomplish, what the builders who are trying to bring business and employment to the town are trying to accomplish, and how to balance those things in a fair and even-handed way. So that's the practical experience. During that same period of time, I volunteered on no less than 15 different organizations, boards, and committees. I won't bore you with all of the nonprofit fundraising stuff that I found very interesting, obviously. But the one board that I served on that, again, I think has great relevance to this opportunity is I was a board member for the Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation. This corporation was responsible, like we have here, for bringing business to Montgomery County. And in the period of time, the 10 years or so that I served on that board, we provided financing, we advocated for grants and for concessions to be made by, among others, some of the utilities in the area so that people could move forward with their plans when they otherwise might be able not be able to finance what they were trying to do. So that gave me, I think, an appreciation for what it means to be on a different side of the table from what I represented during most of my career, on the for-profit, helping people to build things. So since moving down here, I've continued my efforts to give back, and I've joined a couple of boards, the most important of which, at least the first of which, not necessarily the most important, but the first of which, was to join the board of the Technical College of the Low Country. That was in 2017. I was specifically brought on the board because of my background in construction. The administration thought that I could help them with what has become a very important project for us, the Culinary Institute of the South. And I attended many, many meetings, both on the financing side, on the efforts to get the county and the school board to support us from a financial standpoint, in the planning, development, and now the building. And I'm happy to say that we're about 90% finished. We hope to open for classes in October. And I'd also like to say, you're among the first to know, that we just found out this past week that the state came through and has awarded us a $3.5 million grant towards that project and the operation of the Institute during the next 3 years. So we're going to be off and running. The second thing locally right here that I've done that I really have enjoyed is representing St. Mark's Episcopal Church. I'm the head of their building committee, and we have just in the past year, since buying the property and deciding how we were going to handle an increase in our membership, we just completed a $600,000 addition and major interior renovation, and I was the church's project manager for that. Today, I just found out that we're on final billing, and we came in under budget, despite the fact that we had some pretty significant adds to the context of the contract. The other thing that I've done in the past 15 months that I've also really enjoyed and learned a lot from is serving on the task force for the comprehensive plan for 2030 for the town. During that time, coincidentally, I've had some, or learned about some issues that have come up that I think are very pressing, and whoever your representative on the board is, you should be moving forward to try to help the town move this forward. One is, there appears not to be a comprehensive mapping of the utilities that we need to know about in order to be able to move forward with really predictable costs of commercial development in Port Royal. We've sought this apparently in the past and still don't have this available so that a developer or manufacturer coming into town could truly understand what the sunk costs are going to be in order to get sewer and water services to their site. This could be a deal breaker, and it shouldn't be the case. The second issue, obviously, everybody knows, is that we need to extend services, particularly sewage services, to the outlying areas of the town where these people, are still trying to survive on septic. I've had the unfortunate experience of having a failed septic system in one of my past houses, and a dry well, in fact, as well. So I really appreciate what people are still going through, but I also appreciate the potential environmental impact that occurs if you have a failed septic system. So we should be trying to do everything possible to extend and provide those services. So I would propose that if I am appointed, that one of the very first things that we do is to have a meeting with your representative and council and whoever else you designate to seriously sit down and talk about these issues so that we truly understand what the greatest priorities, needs are of the town of Port Royal. And I would do that. The commitment that I would give to you as well is that you will see me at every council meeting, and I will report back to you every single time anything of importance, whether it's on a macro level or specific to the town of Port Royal, I will report to you at council meeting, I also think it's probably a good idea that on a regular basis, perhaps quarterly or whatever council agrees with, that we provide a report that is a summary report of the activity of the board of Beaufort Jasper. And I've been doing that my whole life. It's the kind of thing that is part and parcel of what I did as a business and development executive within our company, and likewise for our customers. I enjoy that kind of communication and that kind of dialogue. And I would be at your disposal at any other time that you have an urgent need. So, this is something I really want to do. I've given it a lot of thought. I have the time. I am retired. And other than the other couple of commitments that I mentioned earlier, I'd be able to devote a lot of time to this. I think there are a couple of committees, particularly the Capital Projects Committee of the Beaufort Jasper, that I think I'd be a relevant addition to as well. And I would consider it an honor if I had the opportunity to do so.
Thank you. Council, questions from David?
Same question I asked the other candidate. What makes you the best person for this position?
Well, I think it's a combination of the fact that I've really seen this kind of activity in an effort to develop meaningful additions to communities where we worked, whether it was a hospital in service or whether it was a new manufacturing plant or a major retail center. I think I really understand how that helps communities to grow. And whatever impediments there are to that, and there are a lot, obviously, beyond financial, I think I get how nonprofits, service providers should be doing as much as they possibly can, particularly when we're the people that they support. And whether that's the builder or whether that's the community, like Port Royal. And I really think I understand that. And the other is I have the interest. I have the true interest in giving back to what I think Port Royal has provided for us, which is a really, really cool and happy lifestyle that we have down here. So I'd like to be able to do that in return.
Thank you very much.
Darryl?
I'm good.
Good. Kevin, any questions? Thank you very much and for being willing to serve on what is a very long committee, tenure-wise, and we appreciate that. And the way this process works is we do our interviews. We may or may not have some deliberation between those points, and we vote on them at our next council meeting, which is scheduled for next Wednesday. So that's when the actual vote will happen from there.
Right.
Thank you so much, David.
Thanks.
Can somebody get Maribeth? Chief, you out there?
Talk to Mary Beth.
Oh, there he is. He was talking to Maribeth. Always good times to talk to the chief. The next item on our agenda is important dates. Fran, you want to go ahead and update us?
Ooh, hold on. Let me
Can you
find
do it?
I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Tuesday, August 17th is the Redevelopment Commission. Saturday, August 21st is the Fall Concert Series, and obviously this weekend, on the 7th, we have the second performance of the Street Music Series. On the 10th at 6:30 p.m. is Parks and Recreation. Then on Wednesday, 11th is your regular council meeting.
So the street music, with what's happening with COVID, I think we want everybody to be here. We want to do this. Everybody, please, if you come, spread out. We got a lot of road. Let's put a little social distancing between us so that we don't have any type of a surge that comes out of our events, so we can keep the events. That's the whole idea of why we're going to do it. We're going to say that we want to keep that event going. We got 2 more to go, we want 2 or 3, 2 more. Then we want to make them all happen. Anybody else have any thoughts about that? 'Cause I know we're all supportive to make it happen.
Just my observation, and also, and I don't know how we can address it also, at the end, it was pretty dark, and they were trying to break down, and they said, y'all have any lights or anything? So I pulled my car out for a while, but it's, at that time, if we could get some type of a temporary light to help with the breakdown of.
Let's talk tomorrow about that.
Yeah, we've done that in the past. And normally, supposed to go from 6 to 8, but I think they were having such a good time.
We had 1,000 people out
And
there.
they kept playing until it got dark.
So there was a couple of encores that took us into the dark, huh?
Yeah.
I wish I could have been there.
Everybody was having a great time.
Yeah.
Oh,
saw your video.
I got pulled out there a couple of times.
We can work on some lighting, we can figure something out.
All right, Chief, don't we have a big evidence light that we could use? 2.
Two of
There we
them.
go.
There we go. See, knew it. I know fire department's got some balloon lights as well, some LED balloon lights as well.
It's a safety.
Yeah,
Safety.
I think so.
And liability.
Jerry, you came in late. Was there anything that you need us to go back and go over again for you so you can get up to speed? Certainly you can watch the video also, but I want to give you the opportunity. We appreciate you having to do 2 duties tonight.
Yeah, no, I wanted to kind of, when we have council comments, kind of speak about where I was tonight, so everybody can kind of get a better understanding.
We're kind of at that point. This is a workshop, so it's yours.
So, first off, I apologize to everyone for getting here late tonight. And I apologize to council and staff. I attended the South Carolina Senate Redistricting Subcommittee hearings here at TCL. It started at 6:30. There's a census upcoming. We talked about reapportionment. We talked about redistricting. We talked about communities of interest. And I was drawn to speak a little bit on behalf of the town of Port Royal because the mayor and the rest of the council were here, holding down the fort here. And some of the comments and some of the things that I said was, as we all know, our district along the coast, and this is the Senate district that I'm speaking of, is very unique and a special place where we live. And it truly is a community of interest. You might say, what is a community of interest? Well, South Carolina's communities come in all shapes and sizes, just like interests and concerns of the people who live and work in them. Communities can be defined by geographic boundaries, features, neighborhoods, cities, urban centers, creeks, rivers, highways, mountain ranges, beaches, and oceans. Communities are shaped by residents' common interests and concerns of events or of historical significance that don't always show up on a map. Cultural affiliations, economic characteristics, social and recreational activities, agriculture and natural resources, educational and healthcare needs. Communities of interest might be overlapping and they might come together to shape our way of life and make our community unique. So to that, I spoke a little bit about the community of interest where we are, and I really feel like that we are very similar to, in this geographic area, to Fripp, to Ladies Island, to Edisto, to Kiowa, and Seabrook. We relate better to those than we do more inland counties. We got a similar economy, and we share the same ecosystem. We deal with flooding, we deal with beach erosion, and we oppose offshore drilling. Our district along the southern coast is similar in regards to the wildlife, to the hunting, to the shrimping, to the fishing, and to the crabbing. We have similar concerns and issues, and our lawmakers address these concerns. We are a community of interest along the coast. We need to keep coastal communities in a district that share natural resources, beaches, estuaries, and tourism, because we're all in this together and we all have the same concerns about things as we move forward. And we all want to see things for the good of the low country and for the good of our community interest. So there's a large group, and they're going around the state now, and it's the state senate, and they're meeting in different districts, and basically they're looking at redistricting, and they do that every 10 years when the census comes up. So that's where I was. I apologize, but I was asked to do that, and I knew you guys were holding down the fort here for me. So
Nothing to apologize. It was an important place for one of us to be at, and I'm glad
Yeah,
you were
sure.
able to do that. We have to divide and conquer all the different meetings we're asked to show up at. We've done that well today, actually.
Right.
I think we all were divided and conquered between that, and we had an opening with in the industrial park today, and I did a Rotary thing for one of the Rotary groups, so we we constantly managing our schedules and dividing and conquering and making sure Port Royal is represented at every event that's going on these days, that we're out there and.
There's a lot that we do that goes on behind that a lot of people don't realize, but there's a lot of representation that we give as we go to these events. We've all been to these events. I mean,
Yeah, it's great. It's
pretty
great
special.
that we're working together. Anybody else have any comments before I open up to the public, council?
Yeah, I have one PSA for Beaufort County Schools. The USDA school lunch program info, with 2 weeks remaining before school starts, the Low Country USDA lunch program is providing free breakfast and lunches for any students under age 18. They have enough food to feed 60 people at each pickup location. Each person will get 5 days of breakfast and 5 days of lunch. Pickup is Thursday, August 5th, and next Thursday, August 12th. And the location here for Port Royal is Port Royal Elementary. So if you know of any child or a family that has a child under the age of 18, definitely they can take advantage of this opportunity to get free breakfast and free lunch for a week at Port Royal Elementary on this Thursday and next Thursday.
Thank you for that.
All right.
Kevin, sorry about anything?
I just want to encourage everyone to, if you haven't already signed up for our newsletter, I think it's a great way to stay in contact with what's going on in the town. I run into residents all the time that I didn't even know we had a newsletter. So if you have signed up, tell your neighbor. It's a great way. To that point, there is this Saturday, there is a neighborhood trash pickup at 8:30. Group meets in front of St. Mark's on Paris Avenue and kind of just walks around for about an hour and picks up trash around the neighborhood. And those are the kind of things you see if you get that newsletter. So if you haven't signed up, tell your neighbors to sign up for the newsletters. SK Designs do a great job with it, and I look forward to getting it every Monday.
Yep, I agree. I'll open it up to public comment. I have 3, no particular order. Greg, you're on top. Greg Shelton.
Mr. Mayor, council members, thank you for your time. I would like to make a proposal for the council's recommendation and consideration tonight. The proposal would be to establish a grievance arbitration board for the town of Port Royal. This is a totally independent board. It'd be charged with reviewing non-urgent resident grievances. The compelling rationale for this arbitration board, it's its ability to introduce unbiased facts and supporting substantiation before staff or council proceeds to take a position on an issue. The board would consist of 3 independent members. 3 additional alternates would also be selected in case an arbiter would need to recuse themselves. Once grievances have been logged by staff, the form would be referred to the arbitration board for review. The board has 2 weeks to contact relevant parties and a total of 30 days to respond with a decision. Once involved parties are contacted and corresponding information gathered, the board's decision would be presented to those that were involved. And there would be a provision for appeal once the process is completed. Additionally, and most importantly, there would be a record of the grievance, a course of review, and a final determination of the decision. But here's the bottom line. When residents feel that the first course of action in a non-urgent neighborhood type of concern is calling council or staff members, regardless of the degree of concern, it reinforces a process that's outside of the norm. And it may place council members as well as staff in a very awkward position by taking a stance before a comprehensive understanding of the cause has been determined. Finally, involvement in non-urgent issues tends to be very non-productive expenditure of time, in many cases for council and for staff. It would be more efficient, both in time and the outcome, if those matters have been reviewed by an arbitration board before ultimately escalating for resolution with council. Once the arbitration board makes its decision and thinks it requires escalation to the council, it would then be presented within a new standard, which would be in writing and supported by a comprehensive set of facts. Having this board would be a model for conflict resolution that many other communities have introduced to ensure the best use of community resources. I'll leave a copy of the proposal with each of you as I leave, and as always, I'm available for any questions and look forward to discussing in detail so that we could use this as a constructive tool for Port Royal.
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, good.
Shirley Morgan?
Thank you, my friend.
Give us one, give Greg, you're fine, give Greg 1 second, Shirley. Welcome. Under the wall, anyone under the wall.
Here, I got one too for Kevin.
Mary Beth's passing them on the wall. Thank you, Shirley, go ahead.
Hi,
We wanna be
my
able to
name is
focus.
Shirley Jackson Morgan. I reside at 2331 Casablanca Circle. And for the past 3 months, I've been trying to obtain a permit to construct a small porch onto my mobile home. I brought a plan. The first plan I bought, he said it was not up to code. I brought another plan. And he told me that I needed now an engineer. I have to pay an engineer. The porch is half as the size of this podium you have. Why do I have to pay an engineer $1,300 to sign off on a plan to build just a small porch on my mobile home?
I don't know that we here can just arbitrarily answer that question without doing some research. I know that engineer stamps are required for most construction these days because we live in a hurricane zone. Allow us some time to do some research, and if we can ask staff to reach back out with some explanations. But certainly, we don't have anything in front of us to look at right now to say, this is why. But, you know, knowing where we live and knowing what happens in hurricane reasons, that would be my assumption. But let us get some facts, and then we'll talk to staff, and maybe somebody will reach back out to you.
Okay, I appreciate
Does
that.
anybody have anything they
Give
want
her
to
a
add to
timeline
that?
as to when she may expect to hear something back.
Well, first off, the code that y'all passed, if a mobile home is not located in a mobile home park, it is required to have a porch. And as the mayor alluded to, the fact that it has to be constructed, it does require an engineer's stamp. This is out of our hands. It is a state building code issue.
Okay.
I used to call it, I called it the Engineer Welfare Act, to be quite honest with you. Because like she says, I agree with her, there's some things that, in my opinion, don't need engineering. But if we can find a way to help her out, we will do that. So give me a week.
State building code,
Yes,
and the engineer cost more than the porch.
exactly.
You're right.
Well,
That's
with
what I'm
lumber
saying.
costs right now. So,
That's true.
but
Yes,
So, a week.
He said, give
us a week.
him a week.
excuse me?
A week.
Give us a
Give me
week
Yes,
to
ma'am.
take a look
Okay,
and see
and then
what we
who
can
do
find.
I come back to?
Staff will get with
They
you.
will call you.
We'll reach out.
yeah, we'll get her, we'll get some cards in the lab, we'll make sure to get her information.
Okay.
If you've got it on is there a phone number on that?
There's no phone number on here. You can,
I do have a question also. Is
Take
there-
this over to Brooke, and she'll write down your phone number and a way to contact.
We don't know what the
Thank you.
outcome's gonna be though, but hypothetically, is there an appeal process?
State board, state,
State?
building codes? I don't know.
That's a lot.
I just say that's kind of
Somebody.
absurd though, particularly, and I'm building a doghouse
Maybe there's a local engineer we
And
can
then-
find and help
Yeah.
out here.
or, and I have to get a.
It's a building. engineer.
Somebody needs to help.
Yep, let's see what we can do about that. Okay, next item of business is Ronald Jackson. Mr. Jackson, please come forward.
How y'all doing?
How
Good.
are you, sir?
I just got one question. When they're developing in our area, 60 and 10 Reboat Road, will we get a letter saying what they're gonna do or something like in that area?
Mr. Jackson lives on Casablanca. In case we didn't know, 1610 Reboat Road is that corner lot, Casablanca and Reboat, right?
Well, Reboat Road is the little house, the only little house right there?
Right.
Yeah.
It's one on the other side. So,
And there's a property across from it. I just wanna know, what are they planning on doing with it, whether they plan something yet, for that area.
the
Because
statement about
I
being-
heard the property was sold again, so this is what I'm concerned about.
The statement about being notified, if there's not a zoning change, then normally notification does not happen. If they're changing the zoning on a property, which then allows different uses, then the adjacent property owners are notified. But if it's just a building permit, like somebody wants to build a front porch, we don't normally notify their
No,
neighbors.
I'm not talking about
Yeah,
no
but
front
if
porch.
the
I'm
zoning
talking-
doesn't change, then no.
I'm talking
Man, did I
about
state
putting
that
up a
right?
business there, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, from what we, was owned, I think it was owned by Nick Borngini in an investment group. And I'm just trying to pull it up to see if they've shown ownership transfer yet. But from what I understand, I think it's Help of Beaufort.
Correct.
May have purchased it. And right now, we do not have anything in their office in terms of construction plans or anything like that. It's Noah's, where did Noah? Yeah, yeah, but, right now they have a retail operation or a base of operation in the old service station right there in Rebo. But I have no idea right now what they intend to do. They haven't come to us yet with anything specific.
When they come, we certainly can ask
Yeah.
them, the neighbor's interested, can you reach out to your neighbors? We can certainly ask them to do that.
Okay, good, thank you.
Thank you, Ronald.
Can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
Sure.
Right next door to me, where they're building, from what I can understand, is Hope.
Help of Beaufort, yes. Yes. That's everything I have. Want to thank everybody. Anybody have anything else, council? Anything else you want to add? If not,
Thank you all for coming.
thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Have a great